Our final session is on speaking and presenting during meetings and interviews. Interviews can be intimidating and dreadful, but not if you prepare for it in the best possible way. Let's look at some of the most commonly asked questions in interviews that you can prepare way in advance and answer diligently. Question number 1. Interviewers frequently ask questions like, "Tell me about yourself" or "Tell us about yourself." Open-ended questions like these are asked at the beginning of any in-person or video interviews to get the conversation started. Other examples might include something like, "Walk me through your resume," "Tell me something about yourself that's not on the resume," or maybe something even like, "How would you like to describe yourself?" It's natural to be thrown by these kinds of questions. They're ambiguous and it can be hard to identify what the interviewer really wants to know. But there is an opportunity for you in that ambiguity. Your interviewer is allowing you to choose how to respond. And don't waste this opportunity by simply diving into a long recitation of your resume. Instead, try a concise, enthusiastic response that summarizes your big picture fit for the job. A great answer will address the following. What are your primary selling points for the job? This could be the number of years of experience in a particular industry or area of specialization. You might also want to highlight special training and technical skills here. Focus on the qualifications in the job description and how you meet and exceed that requirement. You can also talk about why you are interested in this position right now. Wrap up your answer by indicating why you're looking for this new challenge and why you feel this role is the next best step. Question number 2. How did you hear about the position? Firstly, answer honestly. They want to know, they're curious about how you came to know about this position. Having said that, don't be too naive in thinking that this information will not be helpful in their decision-making process. They're asking you how you heard about them because they want to hire someone who is being targeted and specific in their job hunt. Employers want to hire someone who knows what they want. They don't want someone who will accept any job they get. They'd rather get someone who is excited for their specific role because they think that person will be more motivated and more energetic if they know what they're looking for. So you need to make sure your answer shows that you have an intent and purpose in the job search and you just didn't stumble into this job randomly along with 1,000 other jobs that you have applied for. In most cases, it's perfectly fine to tell the truth when you're explaining them how you heard about this job. But don't ever say that you're not sure or you don't remember how this happened. Also, do not tell a lie that you can get caught with. Question number 3. What's your biggest strength? By asking you about your strengths, here's what an interviewer is looking for. They want to know if you know your own strengths. They want to know if you're realistic, and they also want to know if your strengths are relevant for the job you have applied for. So to answer correctly, you need to convey the above 3 points in your answer and provide a real-life relevant example of the strength in action. You can claim that you're the most hard-working person in the world and amazing at time management, but without providing an example, you might as well be making the whole thing up. You need to provide proofs of your claim. So when you're considering which strength to mention, think about when was the last time you have used it. What happened? How did you react to that situation? How did your strength help you solve that problem in that specific situation? The more specific your example is, the better it is. Here's a pro tip. It's a good idea to think about your strengths and examples before you go to the interview. So sit down, list out what you think your top 3 strengths are, and come up with a relevant example, or even multiple examples. If you're applying for different types of positions, make sure that the strengths you're going to mention are relevant. Let's consider the strengths relevant to an analytical job. If you're applying for a position as an analyst, software developer, database analyst, or something in between, consider the following strengths: critical thinking, analytical thinking, problem solving, detail oriented, logical thinking, examples like this. But you should also be able to back these examples with some kind of situation you have faced in the past and you have been able to resolve the issues you have faced back then. Question number 4. What are your weaknesses? Now this is a question that can be a little hard to answer, especially when you expect to discuss your skills, talents and capabilities that make you the strongest candidate for this job. Framing your weaknesses positively can be a little challenging, but when you know how to combine self-awareness with an action plan, you can quickly stand apart from the other job applicants. You don't want to respond, "I tend to work too hard," or "I'm too much of a perfectionist." Undoubtedly, these answers will come across as both insincere and lacking true self-awareness. Alternatively, you also don't want to respond with an actual weakness that will prevent you from succeeding in that role. For instance, if you're applying to be a project manager, you don't want to admit, "I'm not very good at time management." Ultimately, you want to use this question to demonstrate how you have used a weakness as motivation to learn a new skill or grow professionally. Everyone has weaknesses. Your interviewer doesn't expect you to be perfect. However, it is critical you avoid mentioning weaknesses that will prevent you from performing well in that role. For instance, if you're applying for a data analyst role, you don't want to say, "I'm not very good at math and struggle with numbers." However, if you're applying to a copywriting position with little necessity for math skill, you might admit it, stating that you're not so good with numbers, and while you're aware that it is not directly tied to the role, you still want to track the performance of your campaigns and you're perhaps taking a data analytics course to help you succeed in that direction. Question number 5. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now this can feel like a bit of a trick question because sometimes the answer is not in this job or not in your job or something like at a bigger, better opportunity somewhere else. But none of those things are actually what a hiring manager wants to hear. The good news is you can be honest while still telling them what they really want to know. Do you have realistic expectations from your career? Are you ambitious? And does this particular position align with your overall growth and goals? Think about where this position could realistically take you and think about how this aligns with some of your broader professional goals. What if this position is not a one-way ticket to your professional aspirations? In such situations, it is okay to say you don't really know what the future holds, but you should also mention that you see this experience as an opportunity that will help you make that decision. Employers will be listening for your sense of ambition during this answer. While it can be difficult to know or even plan what you will do in the next 5 years, employers want to hire candidates who have a clear sense of how they want to grow and progress. Now coming to the last 2 questions. Why do you want to work with us? And why should we hire you? These 2 questions are pretty tied to each other, and answering this correctly will make all the difference. Businesses want to hire someone who believes strongly in the company's mission and wants to make a positive impact on the organization and its clients or customers. Also, searching for a candidate who is a strong fit for the position and the company can be a costly and time-consuming process. So hiring managers want to help their employer realize a good return on their investment. Understand and consider how you can contribute to the growth of the company and answer this question with that contribution in mind. How can you help the company succeed? Read up on what's happening with the company and its industry. Has it recently changed its products or service offerings? What competitive pressure is it facing? Consider this landscape and think, what knowledge and experience do I have that would be especially useful to this employer right now? That being said, there are things that you should not be saying while answering to this question. Something like, I see this as a stepping stone to something bigger and better. No employer expects workers to stay in any organization for a very long time. But a response like this will imply that you are more focused on the future than the now. It also suggests that you already have one foot out of the door before you have even been hired. Now, coming to the next part of our module, presenting your best self at interviews. What should you wear? Generally, a job interview calls for you to wear something professional, a business attire. However, it also depends on the company culture, so read up about the hiring company. Don't wear something that you will not be comfortable in, or something that you usually don't wear. Remember, interviews can go on for a couple of long hours, so you don't want to wear something that you will not be comfortable in. How should you greet? Greet your interviewer with a firm handshake and introduce yourself. Be prepared for a little small talk, but don't overdo it. Follow the interviewer's lead and let them guide the direction of the conversation. How you should sit. Sit up straight and plant your feet firmly on the floor during an interview. You may think that a relaxed pose will show your confidence, but it shows instead a lack of respect or interest. If you put your arms and hands on the table, then gently lean over to convey that you're interested in the conversations of your partners. This way, you emphasize that you're listening attentively. How should you conduct yourself during an interview? Be confident and, most importantly, be yourself. Focus on your achievements and accomplishments so that your interviewer knows what you're bringing to the table. Take the water. If you're provided with the option of a cup of coffee or water, always accept the offer, even if you're not thirsty. The simple act of accepting this offer will make you seem more approachable and likable. And lastly, never leave without a smile.